name's Max, and I'm here to show you how to use the various types of measurement tools that we have here in the machine shop. Now, there are two common types of measurement tools that you'll encounter while working here: calipers and micrometers. Both accomplish the same task, but in slightly different ways. Calipers are versatile tools which can be used quickly, easily, and in a variety of geometries, but they may not be accurate enough for some precision machining purposes. Micrometers, on the other hand, are much more accurate, but they're slower and less versatile than calipers. To use a pair of analog calipers, pinch the jaws together and twist the face until the dial reads 0. Hold the dial in place with the lock screw under the dial. Next, pinch the jaws across the length that you want to measure. You can remove the part from the calipers without disrupting the dial by tightening the locking screw to lock the jaws in place. To determine the length, read the first and second digit off of the ruler on the slide. The next two digits are then read off of the dial for an accuracy down to 1/1000 of an inch, or 1 mil as machinists call it. An approximate metric equivalent can be read off of the top ruler, but remember to ignore the dial when making metric measurements. A few techniques to use when measuring diameters. Be sure to clamp the piece running perpendicular to the jaws, not parallel. If you hold the tool parallel to the jaws, then there is a chance that the part will slip, and you won't end up measuring the true diameter of the part. Second, don't hold the part flush with the slide. While this will keep the part steady, you'll run the risk of slipping the part into the grooves on the jaws and measuring the diameter incorrectly. Calipers can also be used to measure inner diameters. Place the smaller jaws into the hole and expand the jaws until they come in contact with the part. Work the caliper around a bit to ensure that the jaws are as far apart as they possibly can be, then read the diameter off the dial. Finally, calipers can also be used to measure hole depths. Expand the slipstick out to at least the depth of your hole, and then insert it into the hole until the slide comes in contact with the lip. The indicated value on the caliper is now the amount the slipstick has been extended, and thus the depth of your hole. The entire process is the same with digital calipers, except you can zero the dial just by pressing the 0 button. Digital calipers also offer you the choice of measuring in either inches or millimeters. As you can see, calipers are a very versatile and quick way of making precise measurements, but their versatility comes at the cost of their accuracy. Because of backlash in the gearing, you should always assume an error of a few mils associated with any caliper measurement. If you want to make measurements that are inaccurate to a mil or so, you will need a micrometer. The disadvantage of a micrometer is that it can only be used to measure outer lengths and only over a narrow range. A single pair of calipers can generally measure any length from 0 to 6 inches, but a given micrometer is generally only designed to measure distances within a few inches of its design diameter. Micrometers are also much more fragile than calipers, so be careful when you're using it not to drop it or over-tighten the dial. To measure an outer length with a micrometer, twist the dial until it is just smaller than the diameter you are measuring. Try to pass the part through the micrometer, all the while slowly opening the jaws. Once the part slips through, lock the micrometer in place with the thumb latch. The first digit of the diameter is the rightmost number on the ruled gauge. The smaller marks are in increments of 0.25 inches, and the last two digits can be read off the dial. If you do need to measure an inner diameter with a micrometer, you will need to use another tool called a bore gauge. A bore gauge contains a pair of spring-loaded jaws that can be locked in place. First, collapse the jaws, and then lock them with the screw at the end of the handle. Insert the bore gauge into the hole, and hold it at roughly a 20-degree angle to the vertical. Expand the jaws by loosening the screw, and then retighten them ever so slightly. With a smooth motion, tip the bore gauge back to the vertical and pull it out of the hole. The heads of the jaws are specially shaped so that tipping the gauge back to the vertical will cause them to ride along the circumference of the hole until they reach its maximum diameter. Lock the jaws tightly in place now with the screw, and the diameter can now be measured with a micrometer.